Hello everybody, welcome. It is time for our Facebook Live interview, and this morning we have the lovely, beautiful, wonderful Benetta Wainman. So I'll wait to Benetta, if you can, darling, just just type in that you are here, or if you see that I'm live, just make a comment in the post. That's what I find usually works best. So, oh, I can see that she's there. She's watching. Oh, wonderful. Hello, darling. I am going to see if I can add you. And you should, yes, I'm going to click add. And hi. You should come on very, very shortly. I do find this is adding can be like this excited anticipation. I'm really looking forward to speaking with Benetta today. And she stepped up to be interviewed, so kudos to you. Well done. Really looking forward to it. Oh, gorgeous. We did it. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
It's a little bit soft. Perhaps are you able to speak a little bit louder? It's not too bad.
Speak a little bit louder.
Oh yeah, that's better. That's better. So you're outside in the sunshine, I can see.
I'm in the sunshine in Diamond Creek.
Yes, in Melbourne, in the leafy outer eastern, northeastern suburbs. Gorgeous part of the world.
It is.
Yeah.
It's beautiful here.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, Adair is here with us. Hello, gorgeous Adair. How
Hi
are
there.
you? We both know Adair, which is wonderful. Hello, lovelies. Yes. So I want to start by asking you then, I know that you are a hypnotherapist, amongst other things, and that is the focus of your business now, but you were a nurse for many years. So can I start by asking, how did you transition from being a nurse to now what it is that you do in your business? Can you give us a little bit of detail about that?
Well, when I was a nurse, I thought I was really fulfilling my life purpose because I was told many years ago that I had healing hands, that I would heal many people, and I sort of thought that that was my purpose here. And so that was what took me so long to, I think, realize that maybe that wasn't my calling, and that was something that I was doing along the way, learning many things, learning about people and the way that they all sort of like, I suppose, responded to life. And then when I actually did the hypnotherapy, just a 2.5 day course, the light bulb went on. It was like, oh, I think that's me. I think that's me. I think that's what I'm supposed to do. And so all my sort of like learnings after that have been to do with the mind, really.
Right, so you sort of transitioned, did you, from a focus more on the healing with the body in terms of the nursing to now more the healing of the mind? Would you say that?
Exactly. Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. And was it, what made you want to go to that initial weekend training to begin with? Were you just interested in it? Did you think that it was going to be so much a part of your life that it is now?
I had no idea at all. I knew that I was looking for something more holistic. I'd looked into massage therapy. I'd looked into reflexology, and it didn't quite cut it for me. So I was like, oh, I want it to be holistic. I want it to be natural therapy, but I wanted to really dig a bit deeper. And when we were actually at the hypnosis 2.5 day course, it was more or less like, your responsibility. This is your responsibility. This is your life. And taking control of that was something that I saw people just didn't do when they went in for surgery, or they went in and they were saying, well, I'm ill, but they weren't taking any responsibility for their illness. And so
Right.
it was really more, well, what's deeper here? What is really making them take no responsibility?
So you feel that had they been able to do that, well, how do you think that would have improved things for them, their experiences?
Yeah, I think it would improve them a lot, because if you actually take a little bit of responsibility for how you are, and if you like how you are, or if you're overweight and you know all the problems that come with being overweight, and you want to take that on board and say, yeah, that's fine, then do that, you know, but don't expect someone else to fix that for you. And I suppose that's why I've gone into the area that I've now gone into, which
Right,
is obviously
right.
virtual gastric banding.
Yes, yes, I wanted to ask you more about that. So you then transitioned to starting your own business, and how long ago
Yeah.
was that?
So that was about just over 3 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
really
yeah.
the business side of it, it's been hard. And I find that a lot of people find it hard to go into business for themselves, even though they've got a passion. It's like, how does that passion actually then equate to business? Because if you're
Mm,
not business minded and you've actually just got this passion, that burning passion to do something, it's what do I do with it and how do I do something with it?
mm-hmm. So true. Yeah. Yes, I thought it was, oh well, you just put up your shingle, so to speak, metaphorically speaking, and that's it. You get your clients come to you, but
Yeah,
it's not necessarily as simple, or it's not usually as simple as that, isn't it?
no,
Yeah.
no,
So that was
not at
your
all.
experience. Mm.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what did yeah, so what did you do with that, knowing, you know, when you had that realization, or how did things change for you? What was your journey then?
Well, I think really, I mean, Adair has helped an awful lot because it was really
Mm.
how do you niche? How do you niche
Mm-hmm.
something? And when you're actually starting in hypnosis, it's really difficult to decide. It's like, well, what do I want to do? Who do I want to help? What do I know something about? And so
Mm.
it was really difficult for me because I've actually learned since then with a coach that it's really that I love variety. And so it was
Mm.
like, well, if I just help those people, what about everyone else? And
Mm.
you can help so many different people, as you know. It's not niching so that you cut out everyone else. It's niching so that you actually can target a market. Other people will come to you for sure because I've had people with relationship problems, I've had children, I've had sleeping problems, I've had
Mm.
smokers, I've had so many different people. And each one I've been able to help because I just listen to what they say, listen to what their subconscious tells us, and then sort of like help them to work out some solution, some plan of how to move on from whatever's the problem is. But really, with the gastric banding, why I did that was because I saw so many people go under the knife and then it didn't work.
Is
People
this for
coming to
the
me and saying,
gastric
yeah,
surgery?
for the gastric
Yeah.
surgery. So they started really with the gastric band some time ago, which was the simpler operation. Then it was like, well, that band didn't work, we'll take it off. Then there's scarring. So then you have to do a more detailed problem like surgery. So it's like, well, where do you stop? And when do you start taking responsibility and listening to your subconscious?
Mm-hmm.
Listening
Yep.
to what the problems really are, because the problem's not really the weight, that's a symptom. So if we take that as a symptom of a problem, what's in the problem box? What's in the stress box, the anxiety box? What are those things that make you go back to food? Can you actually get rid of them? Can you do something about them? If you can't do anything about them, how do you then just let them go so that you can actually get on with a better life? So it's really sort
Wow.
of difficult, you know, for those people coming back to me and saying, well, I've had 2 or 3 lots of surgery, but still I'm going back to overeating or eating emotionally.
Even with the having had the surgery.
Even after surgery. And it
And
may
is that
be
because
after,
it's, sorry, you go.
sorry, it may
I
be
was,
after sort of just a short time, or it may be after a year, it may be after 5 years. I've had somebody after 10 years because the initial thing that pushed her and drove her was her child. And so she was like, I want to get married, I want to have a child. And once the child started growing up and she had a little bit more time for herself, instead of actually making sure that she was healthier after that, she was a little bit lost. And she was like, well, what do I do now? How do I actually move on from this feeling that there's a hole in my life? And she'd always filled that hole, that loving hole, with food. So
uh,
that's what she did. So she expanded her stomach, even though it made her feel sick, it made her feel angry, guilty, all the things that we feel when we overeat for no reason or an emotional reason. Then she was like, well, I'm stuck now. I don't know what to do about this. So you have to find out how to fill that hole there. So
Right.
we often forget when we think about ourselves, we might think about health and we might think about helping others. But how do we actually feel about joy and happiness? And I know that Joy Fairhall is a big believer in finding joy in our life, right?
Yes, Joy's in our group as well, and of course she's a. I think of her as a joy coach, but I know she's so much more than that. But joy is her focus in her business in
Yeah.
particular, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and also sort of finding joy, even though you've had either really big setbacks, if you've had trauma, if you've had like surgical problems, anything that sort of like has brought them right down and they feel that there's nothing left in their life, she finds the joy for them if they can't find it themselves, or helps them to find something that brings happiness into their life. And I think that that's
Yeah.
just a brilliant thing to do. And if that we can only just sort of say to them, well, if you can't do anything about that anxiety box, if it just is how it is and you can't fix it, then you have to let go of it and find something that makes that passion or that fire or that joy into your life come back in again. Because if we can do
Mm.
that, then it doesn't matter about the weight. Is the weight really that big a problem? If it's causing you to have, medical issues, then yes, of course it is. But if it's
Mm-hmm.
just sat there and it's not really causing any bother, is it really that we need to fix? Or will that just disappear as we actually fix the other problems and take away the stress out of the stress box?
Okay, I wanna go further with that, but I'm aware that we've got both Adair and Tracy have joined us. So, ladies, and anybody else who, in fact, is watching the replay a little bit later, please, any questions you've got for Benetta, any comments, please do pitch in. I know Adair already has. I just Benetta, for your purpose, I'll just. She was saying that. This is going back a little bit earlier in our conversation when we were talking, you were talking about taking responsibility, and that your experience
Yep,
when you were nursing was that people weren't perhaps doing that, and probably didn't know, one, that they needed to do that or that it was beneficial to do that, and then secondly, how to do that. So Adair was saying she's a huge fan, being at cause in your own life. And of course, the word cause means that we're taking responsibility, isn't it?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then when we were talking about with your experience, and it was exactly the same for mine, with the idea that having the passion, absolutely knowing that it's our purpose, but that doesn't instantly mean that the clients are just going to knock at the front door, so to speak, or contact us on
Exactly.
Facebook or online in some way, and say, please help me, I want to work with you. There's that whole marketing aspect, and I think that's really interesting, that we often go into businesses with our passion, but there's this whole other side to it, that's the business side, that we perhaps didn't realise what was involved with that. And oftentimes, I think, certainly for myself, the growth that comes with that as well. So
Yeah, we have
uh,
to all have to learn. We're
yeah.
not born with all our faculties and tools that we need in life. But if we just learn along the way, and if we don't beat ourselves up because we're like not doing as well as we expected, because that's always the case. It's like, well, why? Where is it? Where's it? What am I missing? And so it's like,
Mm.
well, it might be one tiny little thing that you're missing. So don't beat yourself up and don't keep stressing, because the more you look and the more you sort of like panic, the worse it becomes. I know that some
Yes.
people just can't financially hold themselves while they're having a business. And I was actually asked when I first went into business, would you like just one day in this new office, or would you like more? And I said, no, I'll have two. And
Mm-hmm.
it was silly because I was spending a lot more money than I needed to, because I didn't have a clientele at that time. So one day would have been sufficient, and to do the nursing in between. But I
Mm-hmm.
think one of the things I heard when we actually did our training was put yourself into it. Put yourself into it wholeheartedly, because, you know, if you don't, then you're just going to miss out, and it's going to be, you know, difficult to have two things going on at the same time. But I actually think that that was wrong for me. Whether that's
All right.
wrong for everybody, that's up to them. But for me, it was wrong. I heard that, and so I just wanted to go full tilt into what I found was my passion.
Mm-hmm.
What I think I should have done on introspect was to go and do some small business courses, talk to someone like Adair, although Adair at that time didn't know that she was going to do what she was doing. I think she was a bit torn, and
And
just give
I'll
yourself
just make
time.
mention that Adair's a specialist with social media and Facebook in particular. So just for those who don't know, Adair in the group.
And
But sorry, you go on.
yeah, she's found that passion now. But I
Yes.
think at the time she was, because she loved hypnotherapy as well, she was like, well, do I do hypnotherapy or do I do this? What is my, you know, calling here?
Mm-hmm.
And it's great to see that she got that very quickly, I think. But
Mm.
still, I'm sure she had to build up her own business and her own clientele and the people who came to her. And so if you could just do the job you're doing, look into the small business, look into how it works, look into sort of like putting those finances aside so that you actually have got something to fall back on, rather than go and do so many courses, so many things that, you know, like, because you just want knowledge. Just want knowledge. How does this work? How does it all come together? And so I know people who have spent a lot more money than I even have on courses, and have then gone on to think, well, what was the value in that course for me?
Mm-hmm.
So I think rather than go and do a million courses when you've actually first trained, because that's what a lot of people did, and I know that I've done that since, but I've been a lot more discerning about which courses I've taken. But to
Mm.
learn about small business, to learn about how it all fits together, and try and back yourself with a bit of finance in the background there, rather than, you know, pulling out all your resources to try and find what you need.
Yeah.
Find people who you trust, because there's a few people out there who I've spent money with and they haven't actually delivered what I needed. Whether that's because my message to them wasn't clear and precise, I'm not sure. Because I think that if you don't know what you don't know, how do you find that? But
Yeah.
go to a few meetups, speak to people, find out, are they honest and trustworthy, and do they know what you need to know?
Mm.
A lot of
Mm.
them will
No.
give you about a half an hour consultation, which will then set out, do you need that person? Do you need that person's services? And sometimes you just have to shell out some money to get some services in place.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
my feeling.
Yeah.
So this is all
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
from my experience. And myself, I'm actually concentrating on the virtual gastric band.
Yes. Yes.
All that really is for me is a metaphor of taking control, because I'm not doing it like everyone else. Everyone else I know who's done those courses has said, I'm going to take you into surgery. You're going to have someone look after you. You're going to have this band put on, and then you don't have to worry about how much you eat. For me, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, you don't worry about how much you eat if you take control. Take this band yourself, put it on your own stomach, and then you won't have to worry about how much you eat, because your stomach is half the size. So it's half the size that it was before. So even if you eat the same things, you'll eat half the portions. We also look
Right.
at their values, and what the values have to be their health, really. If you haven't got health at the top there, and you haven't got health in your life, then really you're doing yourself a disservice. So if your health is suffering, take the steps to improve your health. And that will usually come with healthy eating and doing some physical activity.
Mm-hmm.
If they're doing those things, the weight will just fall off. And they really don't have to concentrate too much on the diet, because the
Mm.
diet, people
That
who have been
four letter
yo-yo,
word.
oh, it's just it just brings those shivers into you almost. It's like, oh no, not the diet again. And I know I'm going to fail eventually, and I know I'm going to put the weight back on. What if we thought about it in a different way? So for us as hypnotherapists, we use something called NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and that will just change things around a lot for them.
Oh,
Listening
that's
to what
great.
people say and listening to what they tell you, and that they don't always want a diet. They don't always want to be thinking about food, weighing food, looking at points. If they do, and that's how they tick, fine. Give them a diet, give them guidelines. But if they don't, then let's say you're eating half the amount and you're watching your health, you're eating more healthily, the weight will just fall off anyway. And just to say to them, just because you've been told before that it always has to come on, that's not true. It's not true. If we find something that works for us, we don't have to keep doing that. We don't have to do the yo-yo. And if you watch your weight, every 2 kilos, if you put on 2 kilos, then because you know in your clothes it feels tight, it's like, well, if I put on 2 kilos, I go back and take that 2 kilos off. Then I never have to worry again. It's only because we do things subconsciously that we actually put the weight back on. It's nothing to do with our metabolic rate or anything else. It's that we get fed up of dieting. We get fed up of people watching what we're eating, like our better halves or worse halves or whoever's watching us. We should take the responsibility ourselves.
Yeah,
And a lot
well,
of
that's
time,
going back to what we were talking about before in regards to the patients having surgery. Obviously, it's applicable for all of us, isn't it? Is taking that responsibility, but as part of that, we need that awareness, and oftentimes some help with that, which is something that you're able to provide the clients that you work with. Yeah,
yes,
that's
exactly.
great.
And
Yes.
And I do a program now because I found that if I did a one session before or 2 sessions, it probably wasn't enough for them to actually get it or to drop through the floor all those things like the fear behind it or the guilt or the shame or the things that they felt before. So if they've been feeling those things, we go through a process and it's called really an iceberg process. So if if there's a small amount of what we know at the top, so 20% probably is what we really know, 80% of what's going on is underneath all that, and we
Oh.
really just have to sort of, I know dogs, we really do have to think about that deeply, about what is going on underneath that we need to fix.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's
So
where the process starts. I'm sorry, I'm
where the
just going to
progress,
try and
no,
shut
that's
the
fine, that's
story.
okay, that's okay. Where the process starts. And Asma has joined us, so welcome, darling. And Tracy said, great topic, ladies. So one of the things I wanted to make mention, yeah, with regards to the hypnotherapy and the NLP and the work that you do generally, I know that you actually, and it sounds like you've come up with your own way of doing the gastric banding hypnotherapy. Of course, the focus of this group is around creativity and spirituality for us as women in business. And I can see that this you've been very creative with regards to developing this as I said, your version of it. And I know that you are really prolific and excellent at writing metaphors, which of course is often what we'll use in hypnotherapy. So are they the ways that you express your creativity? And is there anything with the spirituality as well that you encompass at
Well,
all?
well, for me, I feel that I'm very intuitive.
Ah.
So when people come to me, it's my intuition really that starts things off. And then what they say is what I really listen to. And if people say, well, I think it's, then it is. Because if I think it is, then it's coming from a subconscious area. And so if you say,
Ah.
well, I think it's because, I'm stressed, then obviously it is because you're stressed. It's like, so what's in the stress box? So we actually go through a lot of things. And at first, it was all about sort of like, do I tell them about sugar? How bad sugar is for them and how it increases this and it does that. People know these things. People
Mm.
really do know those things. And so, but you do have to really realize what the symptom is and what the cause is. So going back to
Okay.
cause and that core thing that really is underneath. And it may be something that you were told long ago,
Uh,
like something that's been told to you as a child, or as somebody said to me, my mother watched everything I ate and gave me smaller portions to all my brothers and sisters because I was the fat one of the family. Do you
mm,
think that's really good? Because it means that they're being deprived right from being a child.
mm,
So deprived from everything else, and they're just not like their brothers and sisters. So why is that? We do things for the right reasons as parents, coming from the heart, coming from love, but sometimes it just sticks with those children. And so I
mm,
find that a lot of the time we have to go back and do a timeline like clearance so that we can clear those things out. All those things that
mhm.
we think about ourselves, those labels that we put on ourselves. I'm just fat. I'll never wear a bikini. I'll never look good. All
Mm.
those things are the labels that we have to just tear off and say, do you know what? I think that's rubbish. Do you think it's
So
rubbish?
with hypnotherapy, we can tear off those labels. Are you
You can tear
with
off
what
those
you
labels.
offer? That's
Exactly.
great.
Tear off those labels, get rid of them, and say, the only reason that I am fat is because I overeat. Why do I overeat? It's because of stress. What's my stress factors? Try and bring them down and say, you know what? If we can't get rid of them, we're just going to have to live with them. Do you want to live with a weight, or do you want to just live a good life, a healthier life, a happier life? Whatever those values are that we actually take down and listen to what our subconscious tells us that are what makes us tick, what makes
That's
us
great.
believe in ourselves. So we can actually instill confidence in people, self-esteem in people who haven't had it, because we tear off those labels. I have no confidence. Well, you do have confidence. You had confidence once in your life. It's just that people have brought you down or you've brought yourself down. Let's reinitiate those things that make us feel good.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's so positive, how you were able to turn that around. And I know, as you were walking away from your dogs, you were talking about the just before that you're talking about the iceberg. And so these changes happen with that huge part of the iceberg that's under the water that we don't necessarily see. If I'm correct with that, Benetta, because then that's working on the unconscious or subconscious mind, which is what you do with your hypnotherapy work. So you must have lots of great stories of successes, and we're just about coming up towards getting finished. But is there any particular story that stands out for you that you've had
Uh,
results with clients in this area?
yes, one in particular, because I have some Russian clients. Uh, they don't always speak the best English,
Mm-hmm.
but I had one come to me who actually just saw what I was saying on Facebook and thought, oh, you know what? I like what she says. So she came to me and she said, I want to lose about 20 kilos in less than 6 weeks because I'm
Oh,
going to Thailand. Wow. Okay, that's a big ask. So I said, do you mind doing a really strict diet? She said, I don't care what you tell me, I'll just do it. I will just do it. I said, well, we'll do the gastric band because we'll put it on and you can tighten it as much as you want, but I don't want you to be hungry. I don't want you to be like having no energy. If that happens, you must ring me. She said, that's
mm-hmm.
fine. So I gave her a pretty strict diet, which was no carbs, protein, not too many like natural sugars even, because even she was eating a lot of fruit. Apparently, I've found now that Russian ladies generally eat a lot of fruit because it's very good for them. So I said, well, you have to cut that down, one piece of fruit a day. She could have some fish, some eggs, but she really was determined that she was going to lose this weight. And I said, okay, go away and we'll give it a go. And she actually lost 18 kilos So she was 2 kilos less than what she wanted initially in the 6 weeks, which was a great result. But she felt amazing. She felt fabulous. She's like, I'm going to stay on this diet. She says, but I'm going to go to Thailand. I'm going to eat some of the food that I like, but I know that I can't go mad. So she went away and she came back and she'd lost 22 kilos. So she lost 4 kilos while she was on holiday
Oh
for
my
2 weeks.
goodness. Because she changed the
So
way she was eating, that normally when she'd
she,
go on holiday, she
yeah,
probably wasn't eating
she
that
ate
way.
small amounts. She ate
Mm.
fairly often because she ate with everybody else. Her family was going. And she said, and I ate what I needed, but I just didn't overeat. I did a lot
Mm-hmm.
more exercise because we were doing things outside. And I just felt amazing anyway. So I said,
Mm.
okay, we'll meet up after you come back and we'll do your next session when you come back. And she said, I want to stay on this diet for a bit longer. I want to lose more weight. She initially wanted to probably lose around 30 kilos, and she's still on it. But she said, I love it. I just love the diet. I
Mm.
feel healthy. So the word diet doesn't have to mean anything. She just loved
Mm.
that eating plan type thing, so she could stick to it. She knew what she wanted to do, and I just helped her to find a way. And
So,
she's given me so many clients since then. I've been to Sydney to see clients. She keeps
ah,
sending me them all the time. So
oh,
yeah,
that's wonderful. So, uh, before I ask you how we can contact you and what it is that you have that you could be supporting us with, if we're interested, or people that we know, if somebody wanted it to be over a longer period of time, if the
yeah,
thought of that in 6 weeks was too much, then can you adjust those? How you support people in that way?
of course, of course.
Okay.
So what we actually do is I listen to the client. The client comes in and tells me, how long do you think this process can take? How quickly do you want to lose this weight to get rid of it forever? Like, because we
Okay.
don't even like the word loss. So we can say donating it to the universe, which means it never comes back. Or we can say dropping it down the toilet, flushing it away, whatever it means to you, to
Mm-hmm.
never let it come back. So I'll say, like, do you want to do this quickly, slowly, over what period of time? And we'll put some sort of like goals there. I don't
Okay.
want them to be smart goals, because if they're smart goals, people go, well, I didn't achieve that. It's
Yes.
like if somebody comes for their first smoking cessation and they say, well, I went from 40 to 3 smokes in in the days between the next session. So I'll give them maybe 2 or 3 days between. And I say,
Yeah.
so isn't that a great result? And they'll say, but I wanted to give up. Well, you will give up, but
Mm,
look how well you've done.
that's
So
so
we
true.
can
It's
go off
yeah.
the rails slightly and have that piece of chocolate every now and again. Does it mean we're going to have a large bar of chocolate? No, because we don't want to feel deprived, but we don't want to feel as though we're going back to old habits. It's like, let's change the habit. And if you want a piece of chocolate, then damn well have one. Just don't have one every day or eat the whole bar. It's
Mm,
really
oh,
designing it for the client.
oh, that's great. And that's, you were talking before about your intuitive aspects, so that forms part of that
Yeah.
process as well. Okay, so we're pretty much running out of time, unfortunately, Benetta. I'd love to
Yep.
talk so much longer. How can we contact you, and how do you have something that you are offering at the moment that people who are interested, or as I said, know people? You work with women and men, or is it women only?
I work with both, but I tend to have a lot more women come, particularly I think because the aspect of subconscious eating doesn't always sit well with men. They're
Mm-hmm.
like, well, I'm consciously aware of everything. Not
Right.
really.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
I tend to have a lot more women come for weight loss, particularly men for other things. For smoking, they seem to think that that's
Right.
great, but for weight loss, it's a different
Mm,
matter. I'm open to anything. But really, what I would
sure.
like to offer today is to do that breakthrough session, to do that iceberg session for $100. Because I think if you
Right.
can open people's eyes and see what's there, at least then it gives them that insight. And then they can choose whether they go on
Mm,
to the whole plan or see and know what you.
right.
don't feel, you know, it's like, well, what is in this stress box that we have that actually brings us back to old habits or whatever it is? So I think for $100, people will actually do it. And it usually takes around 2 hours because it's quite involved.
Mm-hmm.
And that will.
Right, right. So are you there?
If they don't, then that's fine too.
Sorry, it was breaking up there just a little bit, Benetta, the last bit you said. Something about fine too. Are you there, Benetta? Oh, we kind of lost her right at the very end.
My Vodafone was cutting in. So really, it's if they decide to do the program, which is about 8 weeks, usually 8 weeks, then they can decide to do that. If not, they can go away knowing a lot more about themselves, about the habits they have, about the problem, the bigger problem of the whole picture. So I think for $100, that's a really big thing. And so that's what I'll offer today.
Yeah.
So you can either contact me via my website, Road to Success.
And what's the name of that?
Yeah, Road to Success, hypnotherapy.com.au.
Oh, great.
All to ring me.
Okay. After we finish, or at some time, are you able to put the link for your website in the comments below? That'd be great. The other thing I want to ask, of course, I know that you're based in Australia, and this is, of course, Australian currency. So I do have some international members of our group, which is wonderful. So my very last question is, do you work virtually, online? Can you do this breakthrough session online, or does it have to be in person?
Yeah, no, we can do this online. What I can do is send the questions to someone and then go through it with them so that they actually can see where the problems lie. So we can do the breakthrough session, you know, via Skype or Zoom, and also through me sending the questions to them. So that's fine.
Oh, that's great. Look, thank you so much. That's really good. So, so you have this roughly about 2-hour session if they come in person. And as you said, if it's online, you can send the questions beforehand. So I assume it'll be shorter. That's $100 if people contact you, Australian currency, and people can do their conversions if they're international. And it's a great way, as you said, of people finding out more about unpacking the behaviours they have around their eating, by the sounds of things. So yeah, it sounds wonderful. Thank you so much, Benetta, for your time. Is there any lasting little comment or tip you'd like to share with us before we finish?
I think the tip is, if you're going into business, look into business. Follow your passion, but by all means, but look into business first. Contact people like Adair so that you can actually see what it is that you need to know. Because if it's financial, you know, if it needs to be financially viable straight away, then you need to make that the way.
Yeah, that's great.
So
Thank you so much.
follow your passion by all means, but really look into business as well.
You're so right. And when we're creative spiritual, we actually are often multi-passionate, and often we are drawn to the focus of our business because we are that way, so to speak, where we really need to have our business. It has to have that elements of creativity and or spirituality. And so you're right, that may not necessarily be the business side. So thank you. That's a great tip to finish off with, Benetta. We've run over time, but I've really enjoyed it. I'm sure everyone watching has. And anyone watching the replay, as I mentioned earlier, please comment with any comments you have, any questions. And of course, contact Benetta if that calls for you to talk with her more and book in for that session. So I will love you and leave you there, Benetta. Thank you so much. That's been really, really interesting, and wishing everybody a wonderful rest of the day. Bye for now. Thank you.
Bye for now.